Hi everyone and welcome to Smart Culture Education. This is the place where we make learning simple, clear and engaging. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe so you can join us on this journey of mastering maths, science and more.
I'm going to start with the very basics. I want you to remember the following phrase. SOH CAH TOA. Okay, so here we have our triangle. It's a right angled triangle. Here we have theta. This is the hypotenuse. This is the opposite angle. And this is the adjacent angle. Okay, so tell me, does this phrase SOH CAH TOA, does it look familiar to you guys? We know that the sine of theta is equal to what? We know that the sine of theta is equal to the opposite over the hypotenuse, right? We know that. And we also know that the cosine of theta is equal to the adjacent over the hypotenuse. And we know that the tangent of theta is equal to the opposite side over the adjacent side. Okay, so you guys are following until there. Now, let's see what happens if we divide the sine of theta by the cosine of theta. Okay, so we know that the sine of theta is equal to the opposite side divided by the hypotenuse. And we know that the cosine of theta is equal to the adjacent side divided by the hypotenuse. So the hypotenuse above the line and below the line will cancel out, and then we are just left with the opposite side over the adjacent side. And we know that the opposite side over the adjacent side is equal to the tangent of theta. So that's where this really simple trigonometric identity comes from. We can say that the tangent of theta is equal to the sine of theta divided by the cosine of theta. And we can see exactly where it comes from. Okay, so this is the first basic trig identity that you need to know. I want you to copy it down. Now, there's another one that's almost as simple. Let's have a look at that one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a really simple triangle over here because trigonometry is all about triangles. So for the second identity, we need to remember Pythagoras' theorem. And this will also look very familiar to you. A squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to divide by c squared. So let's do that. I'm dividing here by c squared. Whatever I do on the one side, I have to do on the other side as well. So I have to divide this a squared by c squared as well. And I have to divide this b squared by c squared as well. Now, c squared divided by c squared is equal to 1. So here I have a squared divided by c squared. So I can rewrite that as a divided by c squared. And b squared divided by c squared can be rewritten as b divided by c squared. Okay, so I have a over c squared plus b over c squared is equal to 1. Let's say this right here, this angle right here is x. Let's make it x. So this side A is going to be the opposite side. Side C is going to be the hypotenuse. Okay, and side B is going to be the adjacent side. Okay, so A over C squared. So that's going to be, I'm going to rewrite it. A over C is actually the opposite side over the hypotenuse squared. And B over C, let's see what would that be. Okay, so B is the adjacent and C is the hypotenuse. Okay, so I'm going to square that as well. And that is equal to 1. Remember, SOH CAH TOA. Okay, so opposite over adjacent. Do you guys agree that that's going to be sine of x or sine of theta? But in this case, it's going to be x because we labeled this angle x. Let's relabel this angle theta just to make it easier. Opposite over hypotenuse, this ratio is the sine of theta. So I'm going to change this. I'm going to make it the sine of theta. And let's have a look at this ratio, adjacent over the hypotenuse. This is going to be the cosine. Okay, so this is going to be the cosine of theta. Okay, now we can just rewrite it and it will look like this. So sine of theta squared you can write it like this. Plus the cosine of theta squared is equal to 1. Okay, so this is the second very, very important simple trigonometric ratio. Now, very often they add another line here. So it's not an equal sign. It doesn't have two horizontal lines. It will have three horizontal lines. That means identical to. So tan of theta is identical to the sine of theta over the cosine of theta. And sine of theta squared plus the cosine of theta squared is identical to the value of 1. Now, one important thing that I want you to take note of is that this identity can actually be shuffled. You can also write it as the cosine of theta squared is identical to 1 minus the sine of theta squared. So we just shuffled it. I took the sine of theta squared over to the other side so that cosine of theta squared is the subject. Or you can write it like this. You can say the sine of theta squared is identical to 1 minus the cosine of theta squared.
Thank you for watching today's video on Smart Culture Education. If you found it helpful, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. And if you want to stay updated, tap the notification bell so you never miss our next lesson. See you in the next video.